life goes by fast, dude.
Yeah.
Just make the best of it.
What's up, everybody? We're back. Another episode today. Today, my guest, last week I sat down and did a solo episode, which I don't do too many of. So they just had to sit and listen to me talk for 45 minutes. And you know me, well, I love to talk one. And it was whatever came to my brain as I was talking, we talked about. But today I'm getting to sit down with my neighbor, ironically enough, but a dear friend of mine, Mark Riley. Mark, welcome to Deepish.
Well, thank you, Jake, for having me.
It's I was just telling you because I texted you about a week and a half ago, and I said, hey, I got a thought. You want to come on my podcast? And you're like, sure, I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'd be happy to. And Tori, I think, was really the first one who kind of planted the seed of the idea of having you on and us sitting down and talking together. And then I was just telling you this, but I was on another podcast last week, and in the course of our conversation, we were talking about the value of learning from people older than us and the need for people like me who are younger, who are earlier on in life, to sit down and to learn from people who have experience and have been through stuff. And that's you, that you're one of those people for me. And I'm fortunate that you're my neighbor. So, I mean, I just, 2 or 3 days a week, I'll come sit over there and we'll have coffee together on the porch. And
Heck yeah.
almost every evening.
What it's all about.
That's what it's about. Almost every evening, me and the boys are over there and we're just hanging out with you and Carol and Hope. And so you all mean the world to our family. I mean, you know that. But, one of my favorite things you've started doing recently, I told Tori this, we were, I think we walked over maybe Saturday of last week.
Not a bad habit, is
No, not a bad habit.
About passing on bad habits.
No, but we'd walked over and another neighbor of ours was standing there who, this is the best. I mean, Mike's awesome. And you looked at Mike and you said, Mike, I didn't know when I was getting new neighbors, I was also getting a son, a daughter-in-law, and 2 grandsons. And that means the world to us.
Just like that. Yeah.
Just like that. I mean, and Harvey calls you, which Harvey's not talking yet, but your wife has started to instill calling you Pop-Pop, which I love that. I love that. It started as Grandpa Mark, and then she merged it to Pop-Pop, and I was like, you know what? I love it. But you were born and raised in Jolton, Tennessee.
Right here.
Right? Where, I mean, the house you grew up in was, what, a quarter mile away from where we live?
Yeah, it's not too far, but it's a little deeper than that. It's about, from what I get from gleaning from my relatives and kinfolks, we've been in this community for about 6 generations.
Really? Do you know how your family ended up in Jolton?
Well, my dad's family, I think they kind of like immigrated or moved out of, we're Scots-Irish. Daddy's side of the family is Scots-Irish.
Okay.
And my mom's side of the family, I think they're, I don't know exactly what they are, maybe Scottish.
Okay.
But they gravitated out of the Appalachian Mountains, and some of our original, I really got to do a deep dive into it, but my uncle did a pretty intensive study about this one time, my dad's brother, and he traced it back, and he said we were in those, like the Watauga settlement, and I don't know, might have actually participated in the Revolutionary War.
Really?
The Battle of Kings Mountain. Because that's, Colonel John Sevier and the others that were there. So they left there and kind of gravitated out and settled and lived for some time in the area of Tullahoma, Tennessee.
Yep.
And then, for some reason, I know not why, there's a bunch of brothers, and they all split and went their separate ways.
Okay.
And pretty much, for the most part, my grandfather came to this area somewhere in around 1900 at the turn of the century, and settled over there on the road that I grew up on, just right down the street there a little bit, down the road a little ways. And then my dad, when he got old enough, went to World War II, came back. He bought, or my pawpaw gave him a piece of land right up the road on the other side of the road, and he built a house. So, That's where they were. That's kind of them. Now, on my mom's side of the family, it gets a little deeper because I can trace that back from just word of mouth from my grandmother and aunts and uncles and whatever that I can go all the way back to my great great grandfather on that side.
Really?
And yeah, puts them somewhere in the early 1800s. That and I
And
don't
that's when they
really,
settled
I don't
in
know when
Jolton?
they came here,
Okay.
but I can go back to my great great grandfather. I know the house he lived in.
In Jolton?
Yeah, and that
No
would be my.
way.
He had a daughter, which
Uh-huh.
was my great grandmother,
Okay.
which had my grandmother,
Yep.
which had my mom.
Really? Is
So
that house still standing that your great
it's
great
still
grandfather?
there. Yeah,
No
it's
way.
down. I'll show you sometime if we ever go to Springfield. It's down. I'll show you where it's at. Yeah,
Really?
and it's still inhabited.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's been probably renovated and
Sure.
remodeled countless times.
Yeah.
But the original house that he built is
No
still
way.
there. But it's been yeah, it's a really old house.
That's
And
crazy. I didn't know that.
yeah,
Is the
so
house
we've
that
been
your
here a long time.
Yeah, is the house that your dad that you grew up in, is it still standing?
Yeah, oh
Is
yeah,
it still around?
yeah. He built that house with his own two hands, every piece of it. Sawed the timber
No way.
and the
Did it
lumber,
stay in the
laid
family?
all the bricks. He did everything.
Yeah. Did it stay in the family or did it get
No,
passed
actually,
on?
when he passed, my brothers and I,
Mhm.
we weren't interested in it,
Sure.
and the next door neighbor was very interested in buying it.
Okay.
So she actually bought it. It's still there. She had it all remodeled,
Mhm.
and so it's still there. And
And you spent time when you were a teenager, you lived with your uncle, correct? Or was it your grandfather? And then
grandparents.
your uncle lived next
That
door
was
to
my
you.
mom's parents.
Okay, so it was on your
Grandparents,
mom's side
which
that
is
you lived with.
right
Yep.
up there where your friend
Yeah,
lived.
that's what's funny is not long after we moved in, we started talking and, dear friends of ours live. They moved up here before we did, but they live around the corner from where you and I do.
Mhm.
And you were like, "I'm not much a fan of that house." I was like, "Well, why?" And you said, "Well, that's where my grandfather's house used to be." And so we ended up going over there that,
Well, I got a
after
lot of memories on that piece of
Exactly.
real estate.
Well, and what's funny about it is around that time, not long after that, you were going through pictures and you sent me a picture because your grandfather farmed tobacco
Mhm.
at that time and they had a big tobacco field. And you sent me a picture of you standing in the tobacco field right where that house or around
Where the
right
fire
around
hall
where the
is.
house is. Yeah,
That
where
tobacco
the new fire
patch is
hall
right
is.
where the fire hall is now.
That's
Yeah.
something else.
So
We were over there and it was funny, I made so several years ago, well, a couple years ago, my grandmother died. And so all of our family was back in Virginia for her funeral. And so my dad, my mom, and my dad goes, "Hey, y'all want to go for a ride? Anybody wants to can. I want to go back to the house that he grew up in where my grandfather's a pastor at." And I was making fun of him on that trip because when we got over there, it was like he teleported back into 1970, early 70s, early 80s. And he starts talking about everything he sees like it was his childhood and
oh
his
yeah,
teenage years.
you
And
got in
I
a
just
time capsule and went back.
Yep, it was and so we're riding down the road, and he goes, "That's where so and so lives." I'm like,
Oh
"Pop,
yeah.
I'm like, "They don't live there." He goes, "Sorry, that's where they did live." I'm like, "They haven't been there in how long?" And your mom's like, "Paul, they're not there." It's so funny. But when you and I went over to my buddy's house, we went over to clean up some trees for him after the ice storm. It was like that for you. It was like
Oh,
we pulled up.
really
Yeah.
I'm walking across that property
Yep.
again and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
all those memories come back.
Absolutely.
What was that? That was here and the house was here and the
Yeah, that's what you were
garden
telling
was
me.
there.
Yep.
And, you go back in time. Yeah. Wow. I tell you, time goes by so fast.
Right.
It's like, what was it? Solomon said it's like
Mhm.
or somebody, whoever it was, said it's like a vapor of smoke.
Sure.
Poof, and it's gone. It is. Time goes by so fast. It's hard for me to believe I'm as old as I am.
Sure. Well, you don't
Yes.
act as old as your age says
Well, I
you
try
are
to
by
stay young,
Yeah.
I try
Well,
to
when we met, I was like, I assumed, you were a little older than my dad around his age, and you told me how old you are. I was like, "There's no way. There's no way." But, we were joking beforehand, but, like, you've lived a lot of life in those years,
a lot.
a
Oh,
and
yeah.
when you were growing up in Jolton, was there ever a desire for you to get out of here and not plant roots and grow up here? Or did you always want to end up back here and stay here?
I don't think I ever had that thought or that conversation.
Sure.
This is just where I was from. My people were from here, perfectly satisfied with it. When I was discharged from the Marine Corps, I was discharged in California, and there were several companies that came and tried to get us to go to just stay there in the state of California and work. And one of them pretty lucrative deal that with an aircraft company. And I was like, nope, I'm going home.
Yeah.
And I made a beeline, across the Mississippi River in Memphis.
When were you?
I think I got out and kissed the ground.
Oh, I believe it. When did you serve? Because you never were active duty.
I was in the early 80s.
Okay, early 80s.
I wasn't involved in any war.
I
came between Vietnam and all the stuff after that, whatever it was, Desert Storm and all that. I was in the middle there.
So you never had to go active duty?
Not war status. No.
Yeah.
I mean, we practiced for it. But
right. Absolutely.
We never were engaged in anything like that.
At that time of your life, I mean, you joined when you were what? Did you join at
26 years
Okay,
old.
so you were early 20s. So you joined a little later.
I got out of school and started working.
Okay.
And just...
What did you do when you started working?
This, that, and the other, and worked some little this, that, and the other jobs.
Okay.
And finally decided, I think my dad actually said, you need to think about getting you a trade. What kind of trade? Just any kind of trade, electrician, whatever, do some kind of carpenter, whatever. So I picked plumbing, pipe fitting, welding, and so that's kind of what I got off into. Went to work for some companies. Did that from the time I was about 18 until I was about 26.
Okay.
Because so happened I was working for a company. They were a big international company, and the economy kind of took a downturn. Everybody got laid off. The closest job was way, way away, and I didn't want to pack up and move out there. And that's the only thing they had. And then that twirling back here in the back of my mind was the fact that I'd always wanted to go in the Marine Corps. It's something I always wanted to do ever since I was a kid. And I thought, it's a perfect opportunity. I'm laid off and I'm not getting, and they got a cutoff date. If you get to a certain age, they won't take you. And I thought, if I'm ever going to do that, I need to do it now, and I was relatively good physical shape. I mean, I ran every day.
Yeah.
I used to run about 12 miles a day. So I physically was, you should have saw me then. All this now. But anyway, I joined the Marine Corps and went to Parris Island. And I was, I would venture to say, I was the oldest recruit on Parris Island.
Really?
I
believe it because
the whole bunch of all three battalions,
first,
second, and third battalion. I was probably the oldest guy there. I was 26 years old going through boot camp. And I was older than two of my drill instructors.
No way.
Older than they were. They were sergeants.
Was it as hard as they say it is? Was it as hard as they say it is?
Yeah, it was pretty tough, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be just, they'll kill you. But, it was tough, but it wasn't as tough as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
I guess I had watched a lot of old war movies and stuff from World War II or whatever, but yeah, I mean, you had to have a game face on.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because it was a lot to do every day, and they expected a lot out of you. But I had a blast. I mean, I don't know if that means there's something psychologically wrong with me or what, but I had a good time. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did.
And then how long did you remain active for?
Well, I went in and I got an early release because I had an injury to my foot.
Okay.
And, it's kind of like stirring up a bee's nest. It's like you go to this clinic and then they send you to another clinic. Well, I ended up at a Naval Regional Hospital.
Okay.
With an orthopedic surgeon looking at my foot. And he's got, silver and gold on his shoulders, and I'm enlisted. So you don't tell those guys anything. It's just... So it came down to the fact that they said they were going to have to operate on my foot or I couldn't stay in the Marine Corps. And I'm like, I don't want you operating on my foot. Okay, it's fine. I'll be okay. No, you don't understand. We need to do that. Or if you don't, you can't stay in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And chances are, if you do, you might not be able to stay in the Marine Corps. And what's the alternative to that? Well, you transfer into the Navy because physical requirements are not as much in the Navy as they are in the Marine Corps. And I'm like, well, that ain't for me. I didn't join the Navy. I joined the Marine Corps. Well, it came down to, loggerheads, so to speak. And he said, you either let us operate on the foot or we're going to have to give you a honorable discharge and send you home with a physical rider. I said, well, you do what you got to do, but I don't want you operating on my foot. So I got out early.
Okay.
I wish I'd have. But what it all stemmed from was I twisted my ankle at work.
Okay.
And they have an injury policy and said, why are you limping? And I twisted my foot, and they said, you need to go to sick bay. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'll be good. No, you need to go to sick bay. They had to report all injuries.
They're real strict about stuff like that.
So that's the thing. Going to that sick bay is what got the bee's nest.
Did you ever have surgery on your ankle and fix
No,
it?
I never did. And I made it my whole life. But it was disappointing to me because I wanted to stay. And they put me out. I had envisioned making a career out of it and staying, but it all works out. I come home and hit the ground running, and so be it. And I had a great time while I was there. Saw a lot of stuff, done a lot of stuff.
So how long did you end up staying in?
I don't know exactly, a couple of years.
Yeah,
something like that.
So when you reflect back on that time of life, it didn't end the way you wanted it to. So there's a sense of disappointment for that from that perspective. But how do you, what's your view, your perspective? How do you process that time? I mean, that time of your life and the lessons you learn and the discipline and all of that?
Oh, it's valuable. They're very good at what they do. It changed me a lot going through that. Taught me a lot about myself, about what I was capable of. And, there were days when I was running down them roads and it was 100 degrees and the humidity was 90%. And I'm like, I'm going to die today,
Yeah.
But you actually have more in you than you realize you do.
Did it teach you a lot of mental fortitude?
A lot. A whole lot. Sure does. Think under pressure, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And that's why there's, they yell at you all the time.
Right.
That's kind of like to see what you can handle with 2 or 3 people yelling at you at the same time, because if you can't handle that, you sure are not going to be able to handle combat when the bullets are flying. So, yeah, it teaches you a lot about handling stressful situations and stuff. And it was good. It was a good learning curve for me. That's kind of the way I approach everything. I mean, it's not the end of the world because I had to get out. You just hit the ground running and do something else.
And then what did you do when you got back? Did you get back into pipe fitting then?
Yeah, I did. I went back to work for a contractor.
Okay.
And worked there, and then I've had a million jobs.
Yeah, right.
But it's just,
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that
I
you've
chased
done.
interest, things that interested me that was, oh, that looks fun. I think I'll learn how to do that. I did a lot of that and chased a lot of money too. It's trying to make as much money as I could on whatever. I mean, a lot of people do that, chasing money. But I don't know, just a lot of different stuff. Did stuff that was interesting. I was like, I've never done that. I wonder what that's all about. And I'd get into that and learn it, and and then I'd go to something else.
Well, something that I find interesting about you, and I think it's a character trait of your generation of people, is I don't know if it's the proper to say that you're learners or that you're studiers. I feel like it's a mixture of both. But we were just talking about something the other day, a few different things, and I'd sent you a clip from Twitter or X about, something we joke about or talk about all the time. And you responded and you said, or we were talking later on about it, and you said, I went down the rabbit hole of that and I studied that extensively. And then, the same day or a couple days later, we started talking about your garden and farming and the stuff you do out there. And you're like, I started studying this extensively. And so something I've learned about you is how much time you take of when you find something interesting or piques your curiosity. You are willing to take the time to learn properly about it. Do you think do you find that true to be true about yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Where does that come from?
I don't know how you describe this, but I don't like not knowing something.
Right.
I don't know, like, if I get a piece of equipment and I don't know how it's made and
Mhm.
what part does what, and that's a curiosity to me. It
Mhm.
intrigues me that I gotta get into this thing and figure out what makes it tick and all that
Uh-huh.
kind of stuff, and then study that. And I told you I got into nutrition and
Yep.
all that stuff, and then I got into this farming deal and
Mhm.
the whole horticulture and permaculture and all that kind. It's just things that interest me, and I just kind of dive in it,
Mhm.
and go as far as I can go, try to learn as much as I can learn.
Right.
Sometimes I think some of the things I know, I wished I didn't know.
Well, do
You
you
know?
do you think that not the ability, but the desire to learn and to become not an expert, but to become well versed in a subject has passed as generations have gone by?
Past, well, I don't know. I really can't make that assessment.
So, like, you think about it this way, it's like you
This
look at
generation is definitely different from the one I grew up in.
yes.
And I don't know if it's because there's so much technology and
Mhm.
access to
Mhm.
information in this generation. I don't know. They're just wired different than we
It
were.
absolutely. And I mean, even like my generation, you've got a daughter that's a generation below me. And so like even the difference from Tori and I's generation to her generation to then to Roman and Harvey's generation is astronomically
Ever
different.
changing.
Constantly. But it does seem like there's a sense of with my generation and the generations below it is we don't see the need to extensively research and learn a lot about a subject, even if it interests us.
Hmm.
Whereas your generation, like, you just gave 2 things and there's I mean, if I bring you just about anything, you're gonna find a way to fix it.
That's
And
just
it's just the way
that's
that
in my
you are.
nature.
Yeah, the way you're wired, I
My
mean.
dad was that way, and I guess
Mhm.
a lot of that, I don't know if it's genetic
Yeah.
or I just watched him,
Well, so
but
and I don't say like that about my generation, the generation below, as like we're inferior, like we're wrong for that. It just seems like whereas you like if you again something like farming and agriculture, where you were trying to figure out the best way to grow your vegetables, you go down a rabbit hole, a deep rabbit hole of figuring out the most efficient way for you to grow what you're trying to grow in the environmental conditions you have. Whereas and I think it's because the ease of information for us now,
it is
we
very
don't need
easy
to
to.
know we don't feel the need to know steps 1 through 10. Give us a synopsis of steps 1 through 10 and let us get to 11 because 11 is where the results happen.
Mhm.
Again, I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just we almost like have a sense of I think because I'm this way even where I don't need to know or don't try to know all of the specifics of stuff. It's like, okay, give me the cliff notes of what I have to know, not the depth of information to get the result that I need. Does
Mm.
that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, and you have to also consider that people are very different.
Correct.
Like, you may be where you don't give a rip, and I may be one of the guys that's gonna know all the details. It's just
Mhm.
the way we're wired
Mhm.
up, and I've
Yeah,
always
I'm
been
not a
that
details
person that's
person
like,
at all.
"Oh, I think Google is the greatest thing since sliced bread."
Mhm.
'Cause see, back in the old days, I had to ask somebody that, "Hey, do you know about," and get your word of mouth information and go to a book on a
Mhm.
shelf, and now all I gotta do is take his phone out,
Yeah.
whip it out, and hit
Which
that
is
thing and go,
awesome.
"What's the so and so to so and so,"
Yeah.
And it's the availability of information at the touch of a button
Mhm.
nowadays makes this a whole different place to live than the one I grew up in.
What do you do you view that as only good, or do you think there is
What, the internet?
well, the ease of information and how quickly we've talked about this a lot.
Well, it's got good and bad.
Yeah.
There's good and
Well,
bad.
because you've lived in multiple iterations of generations of I mean, you grew up in an era where, I mean, probably not everybody's had electricity still, or
Mm.
most people maybe did, but there were it probably wasn't rare for some people to not. Whereas opposed to now,
Well, no,
did
pretty much
mostly everyone
everybody
have
in
it
my
in
generation, most
yours?
everybody had
Okay.
electricity. Yeah, but the
You had to go to the
whole
sticks, like true
I
sticks
came
to know.
through the thing where cell phones, for
Yeah.
example, it's
Right.
like,
Well, I mean,
we had a phone on the wall with a big long cord on it, and then
well, and that's what's
I've
interesting.
heard about these cell phone things,
Yeah.
and you can talk on them, and you don't have to be,
W
and I came from the invention of the cell phone, That's in my technological life. And then you got to a point where there's this thing called the internet, and then there's this thing called a smartphone. And see, it's progressed up to the fact where now that, well, they got satellite phones now. You can talk to somebody in
crazy.
China.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, I remember when
unheard of. If you'd have went back to when I was in high school and said, "What's that in your pocket?" It's a cell phone.
Yeah.
What the heck is that?
Were cell phones? Did you all have cell phones when you were in high school? They just were.
Oh, heck no.
I was gonna say
I
I
didn't
didn't
have a
think so.
cell phone till the late 80s.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember Dad having a bag phone for the car.
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
And I don't even. I mean, that's what's interesting is like Tori and I were still in the generation of we had, wall phones. I mean, and then cordless phones became a thing. But I remember being a kid, and, my grandparents lived 3 hours from us. They lived in Roanoke, Virginia, but they weren't local. So in order for us to call them, to talk to them on the phone, we'd have a calling card to call collect.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that
I made
day?
some phone calls when I was in the Marine Corps home,
Yep.
pay phone.
Yep.
An operator comes in and says, "Please deposit another $3.35 because you're talking long." Oh, yeah, and it's
crazy.
or
What is it
whatever
posted now? Like, I mean, you can get on I can get on my phone
I
and
call somebody in
FaceTime someone.
California right now. It's hey,
Oh,
no
yeah.
long distance and all.
Oh, yeah.
That's another thing. You used to have to pay for long distance.
I remember, I had cousins that were missionaries overseas, and I mean, I did a Skype. This has been 14 years ago, probably, but I mean, I just did a FaceTime with them, or it was Skype was more common then, but I Skyped with them online. They're across the ocean. It's
hard.
wild. And so that's what's interesting, though. Is, I mean, someone like you, who you have gone through,
You kind of take that for granted.
Oh yeah,
but me, I'm like, wow, because I come out of that generation that. You had to stop on the side of the road and use a payphone to call home.
Right. Well, I mean, even that's like I've told Roman this because like Roman for sure. Like Tori and I are old enough to remember life before smartphones, before cell phones, before technology was rampant and everything. Like we grew up where TV was common, game systems were common, but it was not the iteration of what is today. And Roman though, he does it like he'll be like, because for him, he's upstairs watching TV right now, and he can just go to Disney Plus, stream whatever show he wants to. Like he doesn't really know what cable television is, because he just streams whatever he wants to watch.
Oh yeah.
And so he'll ask us questions about like, what shows did you have on your iPad? And we're like, dog, we didn't have an iPad. We had to, like, when I was a kid, we got a van with a TV in it.
Well,
and you put a VHS in, I mean, whereas like in your generation, you all didn't have any of that.
Relic of a bygone era. You're
Right.
talking about an old dude over here that's he is, he's had technology at his fingertips ever since he hit the ground.
100%. And so now the flip side of that is
he can't even fathom what life was like.
Correct.
I thought if you could take one of these kids nowadays and put them back there where I was when I was standing in that tobacco patch, what would they do?
Oh, yeah.
Because there's no cell phone, there's no internet, there's no iPad. There's a TV over there, but it's only got 3 channels.
Yep. And it's all local.
Oh,
It says, I had a friend of mine on, Aaron Dwyer. He was on a few episodes ago. And we started, and he's got 5 kids, if I remember correctly, all different generations. His oldest is around my age. His youngest is a few years older than Roman. And so he's parented in multiple different generations. And he was telling a story about his youngest plays hockey, and they were at a hockey tournament, and somebody started telling a story about, a military school, if I remember correctly. And the military school's always done these exercises where they take kids and they drop them in the middle of nowhere with no technology, nothing. And they have to figure out how to survive. And he was saying that a trait of this current generation, is there's no alpha. Like there was no one who stood up and took the lead because there was no technology. They didn't know what to do. And so that's what's like something we try to be aware of, at least on some level with Roman, of like, all right, let's take a step back from all the technology. Like you live on almost 3.5 acres, 3 acres, like go explore, go do something, get out of this house, go touch grass, get away from this something in your hands constantly. And I'm bad about it too. Like I'm 32. What are you going to do to me? Like I'm an old dog. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. You want me to, but Tori's like, he's just doing what you do. That's the funny thing. And I'm like, well, then we're just going to have to learn how to live with what he does, because before he might change in that much. But, but it is interesting to talk to someone like you who you went from growing up in there with no technology at all to then raising a daughter in the, because you had your daughter when you were a little older in life.
48.
Yeah. And so you, whereas like, we're not that
Surprise.
far removed from being, kids. I mean, I was 23 when we had Roman, so I literally was still a kid. So like I knew a lot of, like, we're the youngest parents of all the parents of the kids in his class by a far.
Really?
I mean, I think we've got 5 to 10 years on most of them, at least.
Mm.
And so like we're not far removed from the life he's living, in the sense of like knowing what the experience is like of technology. But so you were on the other side of that, whereas you're on the later side of life, having raising a kid. But like what was that experience like for you, when you all were raising Hope, of the commonality of technology and everything? Well, because she was born post 9/11, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wild to me.
Oh, yeah. Post 9/11. Yeah.
Which is like, that's wild to me. It's like the like kids only, like Hope only knows what that is from history books or hearing us talk about it, not from experience, which is a wild thing. But what was that experience like for you, becoming a dad?
Well, I said something to my wife one time about, you remember back when they shot John F. Kennedy and the president? I was like, oh, wait a minute. She wasn't even born then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was thinking
It's funny.
She's younger than I am. So, but I remember watching that on TV. That was November the 22nd, 1963. But I remember watching that on TV. Some people don't even have a clue about that. And you're talking about like kids like Roman, they don't know about 9/11.
No.
That's a long time ago. That's ancient history.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a recent event for us.
25 years ago this year.
But
I mean,
they don't have a clue.
No, and that's what you go back to, like what you said early on when we started talking about like the concept of time and how weird and wild time is.
Mm-hmm.
And the older you get, the faster it goes, and the more it just rips through. Life just doesn't slow down.
No, it
was it when you're a kid
gets
growing
faster.
up? It gets faster.
It's crazy because I have a bad habit of saying the other day.
Yeah.
Well, the other
which was like
day
6 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
I did this
3 or 4 years ago.
I was
wait a minute.
I was talking to a friend of mine. This was a few months ago. It was 3 or 4 of us were hanging out, and a friend of mine, she was talking about being in Chicago for work when the Cubs won the World Series.
Oh wow.
And she was like, yeah, it was just a couple years ago. And we all looked at her and we're like, that was almost 10 years ago. She's like, what?
Yeah.
And it was just like, in her brain, this was like, this was two or 3 years ago. I'm like, no, that was like 2016. And it was the funniest thing to watch the light bulb flip, like turn on in her head of like, oh my gosh, that wasn't just like the other day. That wasn't just a couple years ago. But you're right. I mean, what do they say? The days are long, but the years are short.
Well, I got one that you can sink your teeth into.
Okay.
Somebody put this on Instagram the other day. It was a conversation that Dwight Eisenhower was having with Walter Cronkite on the Normandy, right there at the cemetery in Normandy. And it was the 20th anniversary of D-Day. I told Carol, I said, that was June the 6th, 1964.
That's when the conversation happened?
And I remember that day, and I saw Eisenhower and Cronkite in that interview. I saw it on TV, the 20th anniversary of D-Day.
And so now what?
How long ago was that? That was in 1944.
So 82 years ago?
I remember that 20-year anniversary.
Wow. That's wild.
So that's like, God, dude, you're old.
Well, but it just, again, that's what's so interesting about life. Like, on that topic, how has your perspective changed towards time? The experience of living every day as you've gotten older, because time goes so fast.
I've kind of broke it down to a simple philosophy. When I was younger, you know how you are when you're young. You're doing this, you're doing that, doing this, doing that. You got all this going on. I've kind of gotten to a mode to where I'm 70 years old, almost. today may be my last day. I'm on borrowed time, really, because the biggest part of my life's behind me. So I just try to wake up, enjoy every day. Hey, Phil Robertson, from Duck Dynasty, they interviewed him a lot. He said one time, just take life simple.
Yeah.
Every day, thank the good Lord for the day that you've got. Get up, try to get out in God's nature and enjoy what God's, created, and love your neighbor. Love God and love your neighbor. He said, I don't understand why more people can't just get that. I thought, boy, you're dead on, Phil.
Yeah.
You are dead on. And that's what I try to do, man. I just try to wake up every day and enjoy that day. I used to have what they called still got it, but the 3L rule. It's LLL. It's live every day like it's your last. Laugh, have fun, enjoy things. Laugh and love.
Yeah.
Love people. Tell them you love them. Tell people you're close to them you love them. Tell your friends you love them. So live, laugh, and love every day. The 3L rule. Live every day like it's your last. Laugh, joke, have a good time, enjoy yourself, and love everybody and tell them you love them, because life is short.
Right.
It is short.
Well, so you made a comment that you're living on borrowed time.
Well, you think about it. I'm 70 years old, dude. I mean, I'm not going to live another 70 years. So.
Right. But do you think, though, that when you're young, when people are younger, not you specifically, but when people
you're immortal when you're young.
We lose sight of that. That we're all, if you really boil it down.
Why do you think they draft young people to go into the military? Because they think they're immortal. I'm young. I'm not going to die.
But when you flesh that thought out, the reality is we're all on borrowed time.
Oh, everybody. No, man.
You just never, like, I talked about that, on last week's episode when I was laying in bed a couple weeks ago. I've told a few people this story, but I was laying in bed. It was 10:30, 11 o'clock, I'm tossing and turning, can't go to sleep. And I flipped over and it hit me out of nowhere. I was like, I might not wake up tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Well,
there
is a
possibility. It sounds so morbid. It
Well,
sounds so serious. And I don't intend that in any capacity. But at the end of the day,
it's not really morbid, it's reality.
Yeah, it's really true of that. Like, we all we just assume, we go through life every day assuming that that's going to keep happening, that I'm going to take the next breath, that I'm going to then lay my head on the pillow and wake up tomorrow and do it all again. And it's always that sentiment of like, I'll get to it tomorrow. If I don't get it today, I'll get it done tomorrow. But every day there are people who don't wake up getting that I'll get to it tomorrow. And it's just, I think, a humbling thought for me, in my early 30s to think about, of like,
you don't give it as much consideration now as you will when you get my age. But that when somebody, so-and-so will say so, oh, did you hear so-and-so died? And I'll go, how old was he?
Yeah.
They'll say 50. I'm like, oh, he's way younger than me. 40. Oh man, wow, 40 years old. You're just getting started. You're 30.
Yeah, right. I mean, and that's the thing is, like,
and it's kind of, it's a shocker because somebody 30 years old died. But
I just heard yesterday of someone I know, not someone I know personally, but someone I know of, who he was 30 and just passed away last week. 30. Another somebody else we knew that passed away earlier this year, it was 36.
You never know.
That and that's what's so, I don't know that eerie's the right word, but just kind of mind-blowing about how we go about life and living. How much do we lack living our life to the fullest and really, being present every day, to your point, like living every day like it's your last, loving people well, and, enjoying it, laughing and having fun and experiencing life because we just think we've got time. I've got time to do that with my kids. Well, what if you don't?
Yeah.
And do you think, though, that you've gotten a greiter perspective for that the older you've gotten?
Yeah,
because
sure
you've realized that
maturity. Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely, maturity. I mean, and maturity really only comes with time.
All these life experiences that you have, and you kind of putting it in a package here, and it's
Yeah.
you've got all that to reflect off of, and you kind of do a lot of thinking about what's really important. You wake up and go, what's really important to me? Is it really important to argue and be aggravated and be mean, or like the video I sent you about that little old lady? She just wasn't very nice.
Yeah. Oh, we cackle at that video.
Somebody would have shot her for $5. Now, do you want to be that
so
kind of
funny.
person?
Right.
Or do you want to be a guy? Oh, here comes Jake, man. Hey, Jake, what's up, man? Let's sit down and talk.
I think about that a lot. I really do. I think about, kind of two things. How do I make people feel when I walk in a room?
Yeah.
Because I've been around those people.
You don't want them to be, oh, God, here he comes again.
I've been around those people where they want to be feared when they walk in a room. They want, that sentiment of where like people walk in a room and they want like everyone's butt cheeks clench a little bit because they're like, oh, they're in the room. There's not a sentiment of like joy or gratitude or like almost like a deep sigh of relief that you're in the room, as opposed to a deep sigh of relief when you leave a room. And the other thing I think about a lot is like, how will I be remembered? How will Tori and I, as a husband and wife and parents and a couple, be remembered when you're gone? I think about that a lot, because I think if those thoughts don't cross your mind of how do people feel when I walk in a room? How do people feel when they're around me? And then how will people remember me when I'm gone? You'll never, you'll waste a lot of your life.
Yeah.
Because you'll be now I'm a little bit of a hateful person to some degree, especially to people that I know that know me best.
Provoked.
Yeah. When provoked, I can be a bit of an ass. But at the same point in time, like when I walk into a room, especially people that may not know who I am, what's their experience like of me? Even on my bad days, do they get a good experience of who I am as a person? And then on the flip side is, how will people closest to me remember me when I'm gone? Like, will they just be like, thank God he's gone because he was hateful, And it's just, the older you get, I think the more that you start to process that and really reflect on it. And you just hope that you're able to before it's too late. And then and then then you spend the rest of your life trying to repair.
Well, I see this a lot with young folks I watch. They get all torqued up and they get all anxious, and I'm like, man, you just need to chill out and enjoy life. Life's not all about that.
Yeah.
It's, whether that happens or whether that don't, it's just, everybody just needs to calm down.
Yeah.
And just enjoy.
We get all worked up
life,
about stuff.
Just don't get so worked up about everything. Everything's not a hill to die on, it's.
Oh, yeah.
It's just take the tough stuff.
Well,
Let the rough end drag.
Yeah,
I used to know an old guy, he said, I say, what you doing, Junior? And it's like, oh, I'm pretty good. And it's just let the rough end drag. That was his saying,
That's funny.
Don't sweat it over. Just,
I think you said something though. I think we've forgotten the art as society of choosing the right hills to die on.
Yeah.
We want to die on every hill. And if you die on it,
a fight.
If you die on every hill,
I've got to prove a point.
Yeah.
I got to be right.
And I've got to get everybody to
out,
agree that I'm right. And no matter what the subject is, like, I mean, you see it all the time in life. And I think I come back to, again, what you said of like, the 3 L's.
Yeah.
It's the importance. Is it more right, or is it more important for me to die on every hill or to love people well?
Well, I'd rather be the light that comes in the room than the dark stain that covers
than the guy that everybody runs away. They're busy all of a sudden.
We got to go. Jake's coming.
Yeah. Well, so, how long have you and Carol been married for?
33 years.
33 years. What do you think is the most valuable lesson that you could pass on to people who are just getting married after 33 years of marriage?
Well, it's a two-way street. It's not all about me. It's us. And I've told countless young couples that were getting married, I said, you need to go out You get a piece of paper, and you get a piece of paper, and you write me on it, and you write me on it, and you go out in the backyard and you dig a hole in the ground and you put that me in that thing and you bury it. Because from now on, it's not me and it's not I, it's us. And it's us together as a team facing all the challenges of life and whatever comes down the road. Persistence, don't give up. Anybody can quit. Big saying my daddy always had. He said, quitters never win and winners never quit. So, you stick in there, you compromise. You do not forget why you got together in the first place. Why'd you get together in the first place? Because we loved each other. Well, did that stop?
Yeah.
No, love continues.
Yeah.
Continues. So don't ever lose sight of why you got together in the first place. And it's just living with each other every day, knowing each other, loving each other's company, and that kind of stuff. To me, and I can't imagine 33 years down the road, I can't imagine my life without her. It's and she says the same thing. So, it's like, and the two shall become one.
Yeah.
So, and the two shall become one, it says. And that's what we are. We're, she's a sweet person. She's good
She's
to
the
me.
best.
She's always been good to me.
She's the best. Yeah.
Patient.
Yeah.
Oh, I've put her through the paces sometimes in that 33 years, but it's just persistence. You just got to hang in there. Don't throw in the towel. Anybody can quit. But don't ever lose sight of why you got together in the first place. That's because you loved each other. You wanted to make a life together. And yes, I hope that's a description that people can use.
When you think, we got into a big conversation one day about marriage and because you said something that reminded me of this.
Oh, and
yeah.
Don't cultivate the ability to argue about everything. That becomes I've got to be right. I've got to be right. And it's
almost
you end up
people. I feel like
playing tennis here. You're hitting the ball back and forth, and
people wear that as a badge of honor a little bit at times of like the desire to provoke their spouse a little bit, of that sense of like wanting to just challenge all the time.
Yeah, well, that's
and
it's not very grown up.
No, it's not. And that's
It's
just
childish.
like it is. I think it's. I mean, what does Proverbs say? Proverbs says something about that.
Well, I always go to Ephesians 5.
Yeah.
That the wife's subject to the husband, and and she's and your partners. It also says to the man that husbands love your wives as Christ loved the church.
Yeah, right.
And gave himself for it. You're to be willing, if necessary, to lay down your life for your wife.
Yeah.
To protect her.
Yeah.
And
that's not a means to quarrel. That's a means to. Yeah, I mean, because like it's so your point. It's so easy to be selfish in marriage.
Nobody wins in an argument.
No,
not
in marriage.
Wins. No, nobody wins in an argument.
Yeah, and that's just you're gonna disagree. That is a principle. You and I have talked about that. Like you're
two different people.
You're two different personalities, people, everything. Even if you're similar in personality, you're two different people, two different thought processes, two different approaches to everything. And that's Tori and I are like that. I mean, we are polar opposites in 98% of ways. We're just different. We're just like we think about everything differently, but at the same point in time, we're gonna argue. We're gonna get in fights. We do. It's just a nature. But the longer together, the more you're able to healthily work through those disagreements and communicate it.
Communication.
And I'm a bad communicator. I understand the irony of the fact that I'm a bad communicator when I have a podcast and communicate all the time through this. But it's just you have to learn though in marriage. I mean, Tori and I now are almost 11 and a half years into this thing. And it's just, you think about the fact of like you all have a 20-year-old daughter now, and you think, she's not gonna be in your house in your all's immediate life. She's gonna have her own family someday.
Mhm.
And Tori and I were talking about that because not with Hope, but with our boys and how, we are in the trenches of we had an 8-year-old and life was smooth, and then you throw in a newborn and
Yeah.
you're back in the midst of it. And she said something one day. She's like, I'm not going anywhere. Like it's hard as hell right now, and it is difficult, and it's hard. I mean, I've forgotten how hard it is to have a newborn, but she looked at me. She's like, I ain't going anywhere. I'm gonna be around.
Oh, yeah.
And I think in marriage, it's helpful to remind each other that when things are hard, it's like too often now in any circumstance of life, when things get hard, people want to just move on,
Throw in the towel.
whatever it is. And that's
Move
not
on
just
to
marriage.
something
It's
else. Yeah.
go to where it's easier rather than
They think the grass is always greener on the
Mhm.
other side of the fence.
Mhm.
Guess what? That's weeds.
Yeah.
That's not grass. It's weeds.
Yep. It ain't
You
that
know.
zoysia in my front yard.
Me and my wife got married. I told her, I said, let me tell you something. If you ever leave me,
Mhm.
I'm going with you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely. And I think that is a valuable, and again, this is why I come back to this is why I want to sit down and talk with you, because I think for someone like you who's on, the second half of life and has lived life, has been married for a long time, has raised a kid, you're able to share perspective that if I'm only talking to my buddies that are the same age as me, they haven't been where you've been. They haven't experienced what you've experienced and walked through life to the level you have, and have the wisdom through life experience that you
No
have.
substitute for experience,
Yep.
pal. You just
Yep.
got to get out there and get
Yeah.
experience it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
Well-
collectively, I can look back down the corridors of my life and
Yeah.
go, wow, I've done a lot of stuff. It's crazy, all the stuff I've done.
Yeah.
But it's all built and stacked, and it's kind of like laying bricks in a
Mhm.
house. And eventually, and it's got me to where I am,
Mhm.
and not the smartest guy in the world, but I know a pretty good bit about a lot of things.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
and it's just learn a lot about life.
The-
I used to be pretty wired up when I was working because
Mhm.
I had a stressful job,
Mhm.
but after I retired, it just all kind of just I got to that point in life and the age and point of life that I'm like, life is too short to be all keyed up about
Mhm.
everything all the time, and
Tightly
you
wound.
spend so much time, and stress will kill you, dude.
Oh, yeah.
So, just don't stress out about everything. Yeah, it's fine. I'll get it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or you just calm down and enjoy life.
This is unrelated to something serious. That middle light of the bar always flips on and off. It's Harold telling us hi.
Who?
Harold. The people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that middle light. That's Mary Catherine in here.
Oh, well.
That's them saying hi to us.
Yeah. Hey, Glenn.
Glenn, that's right. That's what he went by. That's our joke.
You ain't got a short in it, do you?
I'm sure I do. We'll have to fix it.
House ain't gonna burn down, is it?
Oh Lord, we hope not. But and then the one last thing I want to talk with you about. You had your daughter later in life, and she came early. How many weeks was she born at? Was it?
Oh gosh, I can't
I
remember.
remember
It
you've
was
told me
quite
this.
I don't know, something like I think maybe 8 weeks if I'm
8
right
weeks
about
early?
8 weeks early.
That
Yeah.
sounds right.
She's kinda
Based
little.
on what I
She's a
remember.
little bitty girl.
What
Little
was
bitty
that? When you all were finally able to have Hope, what was it like for you to experience that feeling of finally becoming a dad?
Oh, for crying out loud, dude! It was the most amazing, life-changing. I've held everybody else's kids,
Mhm.
and I've changed their diapers and set up and bumped them on my. That one's mine.
Mhm.
Oh, it's just a whole nother perspective.
Mhm.
That one's mine. When she was laying in that little incubator, I was watching her every breath she would take, and
Yeah.
she'd move her little arm. I was like, oh, Man, she is just like,
Yeah.
and nurses are going, Mr. Riley, you're going to have to leave now. You're going to have to leave. You've been
Yeah.
in there too long. And as soon as it came visiting time again, I was right back in there. It's life changing, brother. You've got two of them. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's just that one's yours, dude.
Oh, yeah. There's just creates such a sense of, ownership isn't the right word, but responsibility
Responsibility
is probably the best way to put it, of the humility that you inherently receive when you have a kid, because one, you're entering a life of where you're always wrong, especially as your kid gets older. You know
Well,
that,
oh, yeah.
but it's that feeling of, to your point, that one's mine. Like, I'm responsible to.
That was a part of my life that I had never experienced.
Yep.
She was about I was about 48, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, give or take.
When she was born. And that was just like, I'd done all this other stuff and been here and done that and, blah, 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 all that other life. And then boom, here comes along something that I've never experienced before.
Yeah.
Whole
And nothing
brand
prepares
new
you for it.
chapter in life right here. And it was phenomenal, dude. I mean, I used to drive 90 miles an hour to get home when she was little.
For sure.
Oh, we're gonna play Candyland, and we're gonna
Can't wait to spend time with
me,
them.
big old me, playing Candyland and shooting letters and yeah.
Do you think because you did have her later in life, it allowed you to have more of that perspective?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Of where you
I
you
think
couldn't wait to
a lot
spend
of
time with
times
your
younger
kid.
folks are all involved in working and life, and their kids is kind of like, I was old
on
enough
the
to
back
where I
burner.
could really appreciate her, and yeah.
Well, that's I think something that I try to fight is, and I've talked about this a lot on this podcast with different people, but I mean, I have 18 years with both of my boys. And with Roman, I mean, I'm 8 years in. And when they're little, you don't really realize how fleeting that time really is.
How many times have I told you that goes by quick?
Flies. I mean, like, you think about Harvey's about to be 8 months old. He'll be 8 months old in what, 4 days?
Yeah.
I mean, you remember the day we brought him home from the hospital. Wasn't that long ago.
Walking and then talking and then riding a bike. And I mean, it's.
Then on the tractor with you, next thing we know.
Don't blink, Kenny Chesney said.
That's a great song. Golly, I love Kenny. But it's just I think to your point that it's easy when you're, as a parent, when you're younger, to not enjoy the early stages. And again, they're hard. I mean, the newborn life is difficult. We were talking to friends of ours about it last night. I'm like, yeah, it's kicking our ass. I mean, you're running on fumes, you're overstimulated, but at the same point in time, I think, you have to learn to love every season. And then, because when you get to the next season of parenting, you're going to miss the one you were just in. And you're going to wish you could have it back a little bit.
Oh, man, yeah, you look back. I look back and go, man, I remember when she was little.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but I know you now, as a father of a young adult. And I mean, I know for a fact that if she calls you, you'll drop whatever you're doing.
Well, yeah, you better believe it, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What was it like for you parenting, going through the teenage years of parenting, and when you
Can we skip this segment in the podcast?
Well, the reason I asked that is
teenage years
because teenagers are stubborn. Everyone.
It's like one day you wake up and go, "Where'd my daughter go?" You're not the person that was here yesterday. They go through it. It's all that part of growing up, and teenage years is sometimes pretty tough.
But then life comes full circle.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of comes back around. It's just a season, a phase they have to go through. It's
don't make it
easier. Maturing and
don't make it a lick easier, but it's
different. And
well, I think you and I've talked about this, and I know I've said this on this podcast, but it's that sentiment of when you're a little kid, you can't wait to spend time with your dad, and then when you become a little bit of an older kid, it's I want to be like my dad. And then when you're older, I know more than my dad. And then you get a little bit older and you're like, maybe my dad knew what he was talking about. Then you get a little bit older and you're like, I should call my dad. And then you get really older and you're like, dang, I wish I could still talk to my dad.
Oh yeah.
And it's just that.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's the thing is for me is, raising Roman and he's getting closer to that preteen, early teen, you're going to start going through some of that gauntlet. And so for me, what I've always tried to do with him is build trust with him when he was little. I was just talking with a friend about this.
No replacement for spending time.
Yeah. When a friend of mine and I were talking about, there's this thought process when it comes to parenting that when your kids are young, you want to instill discipline in them and rule with an iron fist a little bit so that they obey and they listen. And I said, I've approached it a little differently than that. My approach when it has come to raising Roman has been, I was probably too much of his friend when he was a kid. And the reason for that was because I didn't want him as a baby and a toddler and a little kid to be scared of me. I didn't want him to fear me as a kid. So what my approach was, I wanted him to build trust with me when he was little. And so now that he's an older kid and he understands right from wrong better, now I'm correcting. Now I'm helping teach him who he should be, what he should not be doing, things of that nature, and helping him work through the emotions that he has and the feelings that you get. It's that every human has of how do I respond when I'm mad.
And then when they get to a certain age, you kind of like, you're still a parent, but you quit being the parent role and you become an advisor.
Yeah. Right. And that's the
if
season
they come and ask my advice, I'll give it to them, but I'm not going to.
And that's as a kid.
You go to your room and be.
Yeah.
All that's over with,
you're past that. When that's a fun stage,
you
though,
become
for me,
an advisor.
When I'm in that stage with my dad, of course. I mean, he hates when I say this, but he's one of my best friends, and Dad's like, I'm not your friend. I mean, I'm like, shut up, get over yourself.
Well, there's nothing wrong with
that. But no, he just loves to be like, I'm not your friend, and I'm like, but it's that that sentiment of like, I don't need my dad to raise me. He's already done that. But the ability to call and talk to him about stuff and say, hey, Pop, what do you think about this? What's your feeling? Like, how do you feel about XYZ scenario and what's your take on it? And that's I think one of the best parts of becoming an adult is having your parents where you can go to them and you can talk about that stuff and to your point, they are that advisor. And you just, and something I don't take for granted that I'm able to have that with my dad and with both my parents, and be able to have a great relationship with them as an adult and talk. I mean, God, we talk all the time. I talk to both of them all the time.
Oh yeah.
But, well, let me ask you this to finish. First of all,
I've seen people that they haven't had a relationship with her, as far as speaking to and talking to in years. And I'm like, oh my goodness, dude. It's like, you haven't talked to your dad in 5 years?
I couldn't imagine that.
Hadn't talked to him in 5 years. I'm like,
I couldn't imagine
I could not imagine that, dude. That's,
yeah.
I don't ever want that with my,
right.
I'm sure you don't either, with.
I couldn't, I couldn't imagine that on either side with my dad or with my kids.
I don't care what it is. Let's work it out. And, yeah.
Even if you don't answer, I'm going to keep calling until you do.
Yeah. I mean,
I couldn't imagine that. Well, if you could, I'll finish with this question with you. So first of all, thank you again for coming on. It means the world to get to sit down and talk with you. This is fun for me.
Well, I hope you glean something from it.
Absolutely.
I used to go on youth trips and youth minister up there at Chilton. I went up there several trips they made, and I'd sit in the back. I was a chaperone. I'd sit in the back and be listening to the conversation I have when I'd be having a devotional. And youth minister, he was an older guy. He wasn't like a young start, he had kids and stuff like that. And he used to call me the sage. What do you think about that last comment? Let's get our opinion from the sage back there. So I'm like, oh, wait, man, I ain't the sage. But, it's, life goes by fast, dude.
Just
make the best of it, use it.
And if you could pass on
thanks for having me, buddy.
Well, absolutely. It's an honor for me. But if you could pass on any piece of advice to people younger that are listening, what's the advice you'd share? You've already shared your 3 L's.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably it. 3 L's. Live, laugh, and love. Yeah. Phil Robertson.
Yeah.
Enjoy the day the Lord's gave you. in this beautiful world that he's created. Get out in nature and enjoy it. Love God and love your neighbor. You know, that's pretty much it, dude. It's simple. Live a simple life. You don't have to make it complicated. Live a simple life. That's pretty much it. Yeah, and my good. I like my 3L rule, you know.
I do too. That's a good one. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on. It's an honor.
Thank you, Jake.
It's an honor to sit down with you.
Anytime, brother.
I told you we could have, I mean, you and I talk all the time, so we could have sat here and talked for forever. And there's a lot. And
we do.
I
we get those back porch conversations, don't we?
Yeah, we sure do. We said, well, a couple weeks ago, Carol texted us one Saturday night and said, hey, haven't seen y'all today, you know. And, you know, and I said, Tori's like, well, we're getting ready to lay Harvey down. And she's like, well, Jake might come over. And I come over there and we started talking, and Tori's like, hey, I'm gonna jump in the shower, Harv's asleep. And I said, all right, I'll be home in a few minutes. Well, then it was about 30 minutes later, and she's like, I said, all right, I'm on my way. She's like, that you said that 30 minutes ago. And I was like, I mean, we started talking. What do you want me to say? And then that was the night our power went out randomly. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. The fun times on Bidwell and Jolton.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I remember you saying this when it was like around Thanksgiving. And me, you, and my dad were sitting out back, and we had a fire going, and we're sitting there talking. And Harvey was maybe a month old. And you looked at my dad. He said, I was as excited for that boy to come home like he was my own. So we love you. We're living next to you is I think the greatest treasure we could have gotten. So
you always, you know, the couple that lived here, they pretty much died of old age. House was up for sale, and wonder what kind of neighbors we're going to get. Wonder what, you know, you always think that about what kind of neighbors you think we're going to get.
Yeah.
Well, it couldn't be. It's an answer to a prayer.
Yeah.
God said, I'm going to put these folks in there. And we're just so thankful and so blessed to have y'all as neighbors.
It's the best.
And it's progressed into the fact that we're not even like neighbors. We're like family now.
Right.
I mean, so that's really special. Thankful for all that. Glad to have y'all here.
I am too. Well, you know, I'll say this and I'll finish it. I sent you a video not long ago. There was some video on Instagram or something. And we just send videos on Instagram to each other all the time. But there was one, it was like this family had moved in next to a 90-year-old or couple. And they were talking about, you know, it said something like, buy a house where, you know, you get that 90-year-old neighbor and they treat your kids like they're your own grandkids. I sent it to you. I sent it to you and Carol. I was like, yeah, this is our life. I mean, you all aren't 90.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're a long ways from 90, but this is what our boys get. And I mean, you all love them like your own. And Carol and Hope took Roman out one day, and Tori and I had gone out to dinner with Harvey for a friend of ours' birthday, and Tori's like, all right, we're heading home, and Hope's like, yeah, we're not. We wanted to get cookies with them, and we're at Five Below now. And then you know, an hour and a half later, something Harvey's
hit the jackpot, boy.
Oh,
they had a blast.
They had
Hope just loves on him,
and
she
sure does.
He just thinks the world of him.
It's the best
because she was a single. She don't have any siblings.
Yep.
And so she's just like took Roman for like little brother.
She did, and it's the best. So thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, bud.
Well, thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode of Deepish. Really an honor for me to get to sit down with my friend, my neighbor, and someone who our family that we consider to be family, and a dear friend of ours, Mark Riley. So, Mark, thank you again so much for coming on. Again, hope you all enjoyed it. So much fun for me to get and sit down and talk with people who are older, smarter, wiser than I am, and have lived more life and have more experience and can just speak to, you know, what the life experience is like from, you know, a little further down the road. And so, my encouragement to anybody listening to this is find somebody like Mark that you can have in your life, whether it's a parent or someone a little older that you can spend time with and learn from and glean information from. And just, again, I think it's so valuable as, you know, those of us who are younger as we live to have people like that we can just spend time with and enjoy learning valuable lessons that they can share with us. So as always, it would mean the world for you to share this podcast with a friend. Follow us on social media, Deep.ish Podcast, and then subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon. Leave us a 5-star review. And again, subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We will see you next week for our next episode of Deepish.